Limitless. That's Life Unlimited.
Even the mighty might not see it coming. It's prediabetes, and it captures 1 in 3 adults. But you can escape. Take the 1-minute prediabetes risk test to know where you stand and prevent or delay type 2 diabetes. Be your own hero on smartphones everywhere at doihaveprediabetes.org.
Spectrum News Plus. Local stories, connecting communities. Streaming now on the Spectrum News app and free with your Spectrum subscription.
I'm Sharon Tazwell. Here's your Spectrum News in 90. Sean Diddy Combs pleaded not guilty to racketeering and sex trafficking charges in court Tuesday afternoon. The music mogul was taken into custody Monday night by Homeland Security investigators. The indictment alleges Combs abused and threatened victims to fulfill his sexual desires.
Sean Combs led and participated in a racketeering conspiracy that used the business empire he controlled to carry out criminal activity, including sex trafficking, forced labor, kidnapping, arson, bribery, and the obstruction of justice.
With less than 50 days until the November election, Donald Trump is holding his first campaign event since Sunday's apparent assassination attempt. The former president is hosting a town hall in the battleground state of Michigan Tuesday. And Vice President Kamala Harris spent time in the swing state of Pennsylvania Tuesday. Harris participated in a panel discussion with members of the National Association of Black Journalists in Philadelphia. The Hezbollah militant group is vowing a response after hundreds of handheld pagers exploded in parts of Lebanon and Syria. No one has claimed responsibility for the attacks yet, but Hezbollah claims Israel is responsible. At least 9 people died. Israel has yet to comment. Those are your headlines now. Here's your weather on the ones.
I'm meteorologist Brittany Hamilton, and as we look at our forecast focus, still dealing with some heavy rain in the Carolinas as well as Virginia and parts of the mid-Atlantic. The chance for severe storms as we continue through Wednesday. We'll see that chance moving into the plains and the upper Midwest, and then winter weather in some areas across parts of the West. You can see that on satellite and radar, some of the higher elevations dealing with some snow, but still dealing with a lot of that heavy rainfall across the mid-Atlantic region.
A monumental indictment has all eyes on Sean Diddy Combs, who appeared in court for the first time Tuesday after his arrest late Monday night. Thanks for joining us. I'm Sharon Tazwell. The music mogul pleaded not guilty Tuesday afternoon to 3 charges, including racketeering and sex trafficking. Newly released photos of Diddy surfaced Tuesday showing the 54-year-old at a restaurant in New York before being detained by Homeland Security investigators. Combs remains behind bars after a judge denied him bail during a hearing Tuesday. Spectrum News anchor Carla Redditt has more on the indictments.
The newly unsealed federal indictment charges Sean Diddy Combs with racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking, and interstate transportation for prostitution.
Combs abused, threatened, and coerced victims to fulfill his sexual desires, protect his reputation, and conceal his conduct.
Graphic details in the indictment accuse Combs and his associates of allegedly forcing female victims to engage in sex acts with commercial sex workers.
Combs allegedly planned and controlled the sex performances, which he called freak-offs, and he often electronically recorded them.
Combs is accused of using drugs to keep his victims compliant, among other tactics.
He was violent, and he subjected victims to physical, emotional, and verbal abuse so that they would participate in the freak-offs.
Earlier this year, law enforcement raided homes owned by Combs in Miami and LA, seizing a cache of weapons and digital recordings, along with other evidence.
He's not guilty. He's innocent of these charges.
Combs' defense attorney firm in his client's innocence.
To his great credit, he voluntarily came to New York. Not a lot of defendants do that.
The rapper appeared in court Tuesday afternoon, joined by family members seen arriving earlier. If he's convicted, prosecutors say he faces up to life in prison.
He's going to fight this with all of his energy and all of his might and the full confidence of his lawyers.
Carla Redditt, Spectrum News.
A federal appeals court in New York Tuesday upheld the conviction in Ghislaine Maxwell's sex crimes case. Maxwell was a longtime associate and former girlfriend of late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. In March, Maxwell filed a motion seeking to have her 20-year prison sentence overturned. The 62-year-old was found guilty in 2021 for recruiting and grooming underage girls who Epstein sexually abused. The U.S. Secret Service is under new scrutiny as former President Donald Trump speaks out about action agents took to thwart an apparent second attempt on his life. Spectrum's Daniel Grimes has the latest on the investigation from Washington.
Ryan Ralph, the suspect in the apparent attempted assassination of former President Donald Trump over the weekend, faces 2 federal gun charges that could land him in prison for 20 years. Although more federal charges are likely to be filed, Florida's governor said Tuesday the state will conduct its own investigation.
That we pursue the most serious charges that are on the books to hold this guy accountable.
Trump says the Secret Service immediately whisked him to safety after an agent spotted a rifle barrel in the bushes of Trump's West Palm Beach golf course and opened fire on the apparent would-be assassin.
All of a sudden we heard shots being fired in the air, and I guess probably 4 or 5. And it sounded like bullets.
Although Trump has praised the quick action that resulted in him remaining unharmed, the Secret Service is again under fire, as it was following the first assassination attempt against Trump back in July. A bipartisan congressional task force investigating that July shooting is demanding a briefing on Sunday's incident, and members of Congress from both parties are demanding the Secret Service increase its level of protection around the former president.
We've asked them to look at additional overtime costs. They've come back to us with some potential partnerships with other agencies. There's some additional technology, including drones, that could be helpful.
In a July hearing, the acting director of the Secret Service testified about its staffing shortages. Last year, Congress allocated more than $3 billion to the agency, with more than $200 million allocated to protect the 2024 candidates. The new debate over providing additional funding for the agency is unfolding as Congress struggles to approve a stopgap funding bill for all agencies to avert a government shutdown when the new budget year begins October 1st.
I'm not so sure it's a funding issue, but Congress will be willing to do what's necessary.
Now, on Wednesday, the House plans to vote on a bill that will fund the government for the next 6 months. It's the same bill Speaker Johnson pulled off the floor last week, and it is unlikely to pass because of opposition by a number of fellow Republicans. In Washington, Daniel Grimes, Spectrum News.
Tonight, Donald Trump will make his first campaign appearance since an apparent second assassination attempt. The former president will participate in a town hall in Michigan. As for the vice president, Kamala Harris returned to Philadelphia to answer questions from a panel of black journalists. Spectrum's Evan Kozloff is in Washington with where each campaign stands less than 50 days until voters hit the polls.
For the first time as a presidential candidate, Vice President Kamala Harris took questions from a panel of journalists at a forum Tuesday in Philadelphia, organized by the National Association of Black Journalists. This some 6 weeks after former President Donald Trump's combative appearance before the NABJ in Chicago.
I didn't know she was black.
When he questioned Harris's race, saying that she, quote, turned black for political benefit.
It's a crying shame.
On Tuesday, Harris blasted Trump and his running mate Senator J.D. Vance for amplifying unproven claims that Haitian immigrants have been eating people's pets in Springfield, Ohio.
In Springfield, they're eating the dogs.
Without mentioning Trump by name, Harris implied that these comments were part of a pattern of racist behavior by Trump.
And we've got to say that you cannot be entrusted with standing behind the seal of the President of the United States of America, engaging in that hateful rhetoric that, as usual, is designed to divide us as a country.
But Vance dismissed the backlash over the pet's comments while speaking at a rally in Michigan on Tuesday. He said that the focus should be on the influx of immigrants under the Biden-Harris administration, which he says are creating very real problems.
You've got public schools where there are 1,000 kids in a small town, 1,000 kids who don't speak English. You've got local hospitals and clinics that are totally overwhelmed. You've got 8,000 people on the Medicaid rolls that weren't even in the community just 3 short years ago.
The former president will also be in Michigan on Tuesday night, speaking at a town hall in Flint, moderated by Arkansas Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders, his former press secretary.
America.
This is Trump's first public event since an apparent assassination attempt against him was thwarted over the weekend.
And at that NABJ event, Harris also said that she called former President Donald Trump on Tuesday to see if he was okay after that apparent assassination attempt, saying that she told him that there's no place for political violence in our country. In Washington, Evan Kozloff, Spectrum News.
Contract negotiations ongoing as thousands of Boeing employees remain on strike. What workers are calling for and what it could mean for you. That's just ahead on Spectrum News.
The 2024 election will decide who leads our nation and the balance of power in Congress, impacting all of us. From Capitol Hill to the Oval Office, let Spectrum News be your resource for balanced, in-depth coverage with our dedicated experts in local politics. Strengthening democracy by informing your community. That's our mission. Available on all of your favorite devices, exclusively on Spectrum.
What if you never had to worry about what you could do? Because you could do anything. Anywhere could be the center of everywhere. The boundaries only existed to be pushed. So the only limit you faced was how big you could dream. What would you do then? Some pretty cool stuff, I bet. Yeah, that'd be some life. That'd be life unlimited.
I'm an ex-drug dealer, and I'll be your sub today. 2 milligrams of fentanyl can be lethal. A lethal dose is in here. Who gets it, I won't know.
It's cheap, it's potent, and it's profitable. The sad reality is, fentanyl is being mixed into everything now.
More kids should know.
You're not gonna get it all right. Just make sure you nail the big stuff.
Mama!
Like making sure your kids are in the right seat for their age and size. Get it right at nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat.
Welcome back to your Weather on the Ones. I'm meteorologist Brittany Hamilton. As we take a look at satellite and radar, we're still dealing with some shower activity across the eastern seaboard, the mid-Atlantic, still dealing with some tropical features, a lot of moisture there. And you can see as we look at our futurecast, as we go through the next few hours, you see those showers moving through areas like Virginia, eventually getting into Maryland and DC area, but it kind of fizzles out. The system not really as well organized, but it is still a low pressure, so we are going to be looking out for that chance of rain as we go through the end of the week, potentially into Thursday, still picking up a few spotty showers along the East Coast. As we look at the bigger picture here, you notice those rain chances still around for Raleigh on Wednesday, 81 degrees, but a lot of heat building in the southern plains once again, 89 for Kansas City, 95 degrees in Dallas. That heat paired with the humidity, likely to feel closer to 100 degrees there. But as you go out west, you notice a bit of a cool down in Billings, 58 degrees, some rain chances, and some of the higher elevations actually in the west dealing with a little bit of snow. So dealing with those cooler temperatures, definitely helping that out, but the heat still going on. Kansas City up to 94 by the time we get into Thursday. 97 for Dallas and 88 degrees for Memphis. We'll gradually see some of this warmer air sliding through parts of the Midwest as well as we get into Thursday afternoon. And then looking at the end of the week for Friday, the heat still holding on in the Central Plains, 82 for Minneapolis. We start to rebound a little bit temperature-wise as well for Billings as well as for Boise, with temperatures back in the 70s and 75 for Los Angeles and a lot of sunshine. So not a bad end to the week. Now coming up, we will be talking about still those mid-Atlantic rains that are coming in with those showers and storms. A West Coast storm that's still bringing rain across parts of Northern California, Nevada, and then now moving into the plains in the upper Midwest. And that heat that's going to persist, it looks like through the next weekend. We'll talk about that in less than 10 minutes.
Production at Boeing's Washington State plant has essentially come to a costly halt as more than 30,000 employees remain on strike. Contract negotiations are ongoing as federal regulators are now involved in the talks. Spectrum's Ariel Wessler is in California with a closer look at what's at stake.
Federal mediators working to bring Boeing and the union representing 33,000 of its workers closer together.
If you want to attract talented people here, you have to give them a decent pay rate.
Late last week, members of the International Association of Machinists and Aerospace Workers Union rejected a deal reached between union leaders and Boeing and walked off the job.
Give me back my retirement, give me my decent pay raise, and you'll have 33,000 people actually willing to help you build airplanes.
Since 2018, a series of crashes and near disasters have dented Boeing's finances and reputation. But last year, Boeing's then CEO saw a 45% pay raise, while wages of Boeing's union workers stayed flat. Art Wheaton of the Cornell University School of Industrial and Labor Relations says the workers have leverage because their work is so specialized.
It is a huge problem trying to replace those workers because there's not a lot of people that know how to build airplanes, especially these large airplanes around the world. There's a very limited skill set for this.
In a Monday employee memo, Boeing announced temporary spending cuts, including a hiring freeze and travel restrictions, and said furloughs of employees and executives are possible.
A strike can cost them more than $1 billion a week, so they really do need to get this solved quickly.
Union members say they want a 40% pay bump over 4 years to make up for recent inflation and for nearly 2 decades of past contracts that downsized retirement and health care benefits. The last major strike of Boeing workers in 2008 lasted for more than 8 weeks, costing the company about $1.2 billion. Ariel Wessler, Spectrum News.
With less than 50 days until the 2024 election, Spectrum News is traveling with Republican vice presidential candidate J.D. Vance. Vance spent the day in the battleground state of Wisconsin. Our national political reporter Taylor Popolars joins us now from Eau Claire. Taylor, what have you seen and heard over the last 2 days with Vance, and what can you tell us about this controversy in Springfield, Ohio, growing since the presidential debate?
Yeah, Sharon, it's been a busy trip. This is the third state that we've hit with Senator Vance in 3 days. We started in Georgia on Monday night, then we're in Michigan earlier today on Tuesday, and now we're here in Wisconsin, 3 of the 7 main battleground states that the Trump-Vance campaign and the Harris-Walz campaign are trying to hit. In terms of what it's been like, it's a very fast-moving thing being inside the motorcade. The security has definitely been increased since that apparent assassination attempt against former President Trump a few days ago, so we're in a long motorcade. These buildings are very secured, but these campaign events are still going on. In terms of that Springfield, Ohio story that you mentioned, I had the chance to speak with Senator Vance under the wing of his plane, had an exchange because he and Trump have been pushing these unfounded claims that Haitian migrants in Springfield, Ohio have been eating people's pets or local geese. Authorities there say, even Republicans say there's no evidence to back that up, but the community has dealt with almost 3 dozen bomb threats since Donald Trump mentioned it on the debate stage last week. Here was my exchange with Vance. When Trump amplified it on the debate stage, the threats started after that. What do you know about what caused them if you're saying it's not connected to his remarks or your remarks?
Well, 2 things is what the governor has said. The governor said that they were all hoaxes, and the governor said that they came from overseas. So do I think that some, a person in Russia or China or Iran or Ukraine is calling in a bomb threat because they're motivated by Donald Trump's rhetoric? No, I think they're motivated by what foreign disinformation operations are always motivated by, which is sowing discord. And I think that a lot of media laundered those talking points, actually played the game of people who are calling in bomb threats because they're trying to sow discord in our country. And again, go back to the fundamental point, Taylor. What is the argument? The argument is that because Donald Trump or because I or because a resident of Springfield called attention to the problems in those towns, these bomb threats are now falling on residents. Well, the implication is you're not allowed to talk about these issues because a psychopath calls in a bomb threat. We don't believe in a heckler's veto, and we certainly don't believe that foreign disinformation operatives should be able to silence an American president or the residents of Springfield, Ohio.
Now, Sharon, I followed up with Vance after he told me that, saying to him the Republican mayor of Springfield, the Republican governor of Ohio, and local and state police all say there is no evidence to support those claims. So what is he basing it off of? And he essentially told me his office continues to hear from constituents who are expressing concerns, and he's choosing to trust them despite what these local authorities and officials are saying. So it's an example of the controversies that these candidates have to deal with on the trail while also campaigning here and delivering their stump speeches across the country.
All right, Taylor Popolars from the battleground state of Wisconsin. Thanks. Taking the perfect shot. Coming up on Spectrum News, how a photographer captures the beauty of her city when it shines.
For the millions of school-aged children across the country, the state of their schools can have a lasting impact on their health and well-being.
The majority of school districts aren't doing comprehensive regular water quality testing.
As CO2 levels rise in a space, cognitive function takes a direct decline.
We visit 2 school districts working to create safe and healthy environments for their students.
Watch Exploring Your Health, Curing Our Classrooms. Available on the Spectrum News app.
Never have to worry about thinking too big? Because you have a connection that's ready for anything. That's Life Unlimited. That's Spectrum.
I tell my son, I love you every single day. I love you. Now, my dad has never said that to me. Not because he doesn't love me, but because culturally it wasn't comfortable for him. Now that he's a grandfather, he says, I love you to my son every time he sees him. My advice to all the fathers out there, forget the cultural restrictions. They grow up way too fast for you to waste even a single precious moment.
Food isn't just fuel to live, it's fuel to grow. My family relied on public assistance to help provide meals for us. These meals fueled my involvement in theater and the arts as a child, which fostered my love for acting. The Feeding America network of food banks helps millions of people put food on the table. When people are fed, futures are nourished. Join the movement to end hunger, and together we can open endless possibilities for people to thrive. Visit feedingamerica.org/actnow.
Thanks for sticking with us for your weather on the ones. I'm meteorologist Brittany Hamilton, and we're looking at projected rainfall over the next 7 days. You do notice some spots getting into areas like Omaha and Wichita. Quite a bit of rainfall expected over the next 7. And then some of that heavier rainfall that we've been seeing with the system that moved through North and South Carolina on Monday, that's moving to the north, so that's going to add to some of those rainfall totals as well. Now out west, especially down through Arizona, really not expecting much in the way of rain, but the northern tier of the country already dealing with some rain and even some high elevation snow showing up out there. So as we've looked at satellite and radar, of course, we've been talking a lot about that system that's keeping things pretty wet across the Carolinas and through Virginia. Also a few showers down in the panhandle of Florida as well as Louisiana, but look out west. You can see what's going on out here. You're seeing some pink showing up here, indicates a wintry mix. Yeah, this time of the year, some of the higher elevations deal with some snow, but also ahead of the cooler air, there's warm air. There's actually some pretty hot air, and that's why we're watching out for some showers and thunderstorms as we go through the Rockies, as well as for parts of the plains as we go into Wednesday. This is a marginal risk. It's a 1 on a scale of 1 to 5, so a low end risk, but that chance is there to have some damaging wind gusts with this system as it comes in. It is a frontal boundary, and we'll be watching that on Wednesday. Now, Thursday, those chances do go up a little bit more, especially as we get into areas like Minnesota, Minneapolis, kind of in the bullseye here for a 2 on a scale of 1 to 5. And then you also have areas like Kansas City, as well as most of Iowa included in this marginal risk, which is a 1 on a scale of 1 1 to 5. So the main thing to remember is that some of these storms, they could have very damaging winds. That's sort of our main threat. Wouldn't rule out an isolated spin up, considering as you look at the low pressure, it's also spinning. And sometimes these storms do get a little bit of spin on them, some rotation, and that could cause some issues as well. As we look at the futurecast, this is early morning on Thursday. Central time, you see some of these storms moving through areas like Iowa, eventually getting through Missouri as well, also Minnesota, dealing with some heavy rain and those thunderstorms as we go into Thursday morning and Thursday afternoon. And by Thursday evening, a lot of this starts to clear out. Now, in terms of the tropics, we have the remnants of Gordon, which could become Gordon once again. We'll keep you guys up to date.
American gymnast Jordan Childs is asking Switzerland's Supreme Court to overturn a ruling that stripped her of an Olympic bronze medal. The Court of Arbitration for Sport previously rejected an appeal by Childs' coach on the final score of the individual floor exercise. The court, headquartered in Switzerland, ruled her coach waited too long to file an appeal, which resulted with a Romanian gymnast being awarded the bronze medal. Childs says the sport court violated her right to be heard by not accepting video evidence she claims shows her coach making the appeal in time. They say a picture is worth 1,000 words. A daily ritual to showcase the beauty of her city turned into so much more for one woman in Wisconsin. Spectrum's Megan Marshall shows us how a personal passion project is helping change the narrative about Milwaukee.
Christine is a firm believer that some of the best things happen before the sun rises.
It's fun to just see things that other people don't see.
It's a time for her to take photos and capture the beauty of the city she calls home.
I feel like the city is all mine. It's quiet. It's just very peaceful, I think.
This early morning brings her to Milwaukee's lakefront to continue her streak of sharing one photo a day, an idea that turned into a hobby and has been her routine every day for about 14 years.
And some days it's art, and some days it's just weird.
Her subject for today is a puddle. In it, she captures the reflection of an iconic Milwaukee landmark. Photography isn't something Christine's always done. She worked for the city of Milwaukee for decades and was an avid marathon runner. She picked up a camera after hearing a lot of doubts about the safety and worth of Milwaukee from friends outside the city. Nearly 5,000 days later, she has no plans to stop taking and sharing beautiful scenes.
It's just really opened up a whole different life for me that I never would have expected. So it's really very fun.
Creating a new perspective through her own lens to help Milwaukee shine.
The city is such a beautiful place, and it's a place I love, and I really enjoy sharing that love and that beauty and giving people a perspective of the city that they wouldn't normally see.
It's expanded her own view too, as she shares what she sees every day with a growing number of followers. In Milwaukee, Megan Marshall, Spectrum News.
I'm Sharon Tazwell. Thanks for watching. Your Spectrum News and 90s coming up right after this short break. Stay with us.
Friday nights, The Big Deal with Errol Lewis, where Spectrum News' local political journalists break down the most important issues shaping our nation.
Here's the deal. People need a place to explore national issues that have an impact on their community. To understand those issues better, we're bringing together our team of local political journalists from across the country to break down what's happening. So join us every week to catch up on the key stories making a big difference across the nation and in your local community.
Watch The Big Deal with Errol Lewis Friday nights at 9 Eastern, 8 Central on Spectrum News Plus. Available on all of your favorite devices, exclusively on Spectrum.
At Spectrum Enterprise, we give over 80% of the Fortune 500 the technology solutions they need to meet their growing business demands. Whether it's ultra-fast connectivity, seamless transactions, safe and secure data, or reliable always-on technology, these businesses demand better, and we're here to deliver it. Get a network you can rely on with our 100% uptime SLA guarantee.
Whether it's our stories,
the warmth of our laugh, or our family's secret sauce. We all bring something different to the table. So make some space. The power of connection is waiting right outside your comfort zone. Learn how you can help strengthen your community at belongingbeginswithus.org/team up.
Sometimes in life, in order to move forward, it helps to look back.
To learn from the pioneers and trailblazers.
To gain inspiration from those who came before us.
To show us what it means to act with empathy and to show that love has no labels.
Join WWE and Love Has No Labels throughout the year in celebrating people from all communities and heritages.
Because when love has no labels,
that's a love we can all fight for.
Spectrum News Plus. Local stories, connecting communities. Streaming now on the Spectrum News